disappointed me. Oh my God!
One step closer, I'm feeling fine. Getting better one day at a time. I'm moving forward with all of my might. I'm headed toward a new state of mind. So I hold back tears, move in the right direction, face my fears, move in the right direction. I'm doing fine. One step closer every day at a time. I won't lose my mind, lose my mind. Motivation, a powerful string.
You can't touch this.
So, it's the year 1990. And what happened in 1990? Well, the music revelation was shared between this chap, MC Hammer, with You Can't Touch This, and also very popular in the States and over the UK, Mr. Vanilla Ice with his Ice Ice Baby, nicking a riff from Queen, of course. In the year of 1990, also, Margaret Thatcher, the most infamous Prime Minister probably ever, resigned, which was not a bad day. On the television, we had Twin Peaks, and it was a very unusual series indeed. And all the kids were going nuts for one of these things called Kirby's. Very sinister looking things now, in my opinion. Oh, and Bush was at war with Iraq. Like that's ever going to happen again. And of course, in the year of 1990 was the year that I really did discover films. In fact, some of my favourite films was from the year 1990. And as it's 30 years ago now, I thought I would compile a list of my top 10 films from the year 1990. Because when I looked at some of the dates of some of the movies, watching them over the years, I realised they all came from the same year. So many of my favourite movies are from the same year, 1990. Here's my video then for the top 10 1990 movies. I'm going to start off with number 10. So then, number 10, to kick things off, and it's Tom Savini's Night of the Living Dead, a remake of the old George A. Romero movie, also written by George A. Romero. And as a tradition, with most zombie films, the word zombie is never ever mentioned used once. So, yeah, there we go, there's a useless fact for you. And it stars Tony Todd from Candyman fame, Patricia Tallman and Bill Moseley, who's very famous amongst the horror community of actors, that's for sure. It's a very good film, it's a very good remake, it's very well lit, it's very well shot, very well paced, great acting, great scripting, great story, and it's a classic in my opinion. I really do enjoy this movie. It has plenty of suspenseful moments, lots of great effects, especially from the horror side of things, the zombie special effects, etc. And I really do enjoy this film. I do remember watching this when I was younger and renting it from the video store. It had like a white box with 3 zombies all over it. So I really do recommend Night of the Living Dead by Tom Savini. Coming in at number 9 then is Child's Play 2. Now, Child's Play 2 is a sequel to Child's Play. I bet you never saw that one coming. And it's directed by John LaFia, who sadly died recently. So rest in peace, my friend, even though I don't know you. And of course, Alex Vincent returns as Andy and Brad Dourif as the voice of Chucky. It was written by Don Mancini and was originally to be set at Christmas, but they decided to make it a normal time of the year instead. So there we go. It was meant to be set at Christmas, which I never knew until later on. It opened at number 1 at the box office on its opening weekend, which is very rare for a horror sequel. And I really do enjoy this movie. It is probably the best film in the franchise. I do have a soft spot for the first film though, however, because that was the one I first saw. But this is a very good sequel. Very well acted, like I said about the previous movie. This is also well acted. It's well written. Chucky is full on Chucky in this movie. The creative team of the special effects do a fantastic job. And I really do enjoy this movie. I think it's a fantastic film that you should seek out. Some of the sequels after this weren't as strong or as popular, I would say. Child's Play 3, in fact, is my least favourite of all the films. I find it, well, to be honest, crap. But this was a very good sequel, and I really do highly recommend it. If you've seen the original movie, then I'm pretty sure you'll like this. It's pretty full on. So yeah, Child's Play 2, also from the year of 1990, because obviously that's when this video is all about. But I really did enjoy this movie, and I would definitely recommend it to anybody who enjoyed the first film as well.
Now it's time to play. Close your eyes and count to 7. When you wake, you'll be in heaven.
So then, on to number 8. And my 8th favourite film of 1990 is the hit film Ghost. Directed by Jerry Zucker, known for the Airplane movies, and written by Bruce Joel Robin. It stars Patrick Swayze, Demi Moore and Whoopi Goldberg, and it's a story about a man who's in love with his wife, who dies, but comes back as a ghost. And that's all I'll say, because well, it's a film you really need to see. I think this is if you haven't seen it already, of course, because it is a classic. It isn't overly loved, but I truly do enjoy this movie. I think it's such a fantastic story with some really good ideas, great central performances, and there's just something about this film. It's very emotional, but it does have humour in it, and it does have a couple of scares as well, so I really did enjoy it. The role of Oda Mae Brown, which was played by Whoopi Goldberg, was not written for her, believe it or not. In fact, Patrick Swayze was a fan of Whoopi Goldberg's and decided to convince the producers to cast her in the film. And it was a good job too, because she got nominated for an Oscar for it. So that was very good on Patrick Swayze's side of things. The film is obviously a bit of a soppy, and it goes at a very fast pace. But like I said, it has humour, it has some scary bits. There's a side of thriller to it. And I honestly really enjoy this movie. I really can't fault it. There are so many great scenes, and it has the very famous scene featured, the pottery scene, which was very, very popular. A bit cheesy maybe, but and of course Unchained Melody was a very popular hit for this film as well. So Ghost, I really do recommend it, and I recommend you check it out. Make sure you watch this movie. That's all I can really say about it. Fantastic film indeed.
Tell her I love her. He says he loves you.
Sam would never say that.
You gotta take all your anger, all your love, all your hate, and then let it explode.
Molly, you in danger, girl.
So coming in at number 7 is The Witches, which is directed by Nicholas Roeg, written by Adam Scott, and stars Angelica Houston, Rowan Atkinson and Jane Horrocks, amongst a few others as well. And I remember renting this from the video shop when I was very younger, and I absolutely loved it. I thought it was such a good story, the animatronics, etc. The story is about this young lad and his grandmother who go to this hotel in the middle of nowhere in England. And actually, I think this film is set in America, but originally in the book it's in England. And basically, the Grand High Witch, played by Angelica Houston, on top form, and they basically turn them into mice, and it's a bit of an adventure film with a little element of horror to it. And the special effects by Jim Henson here is phenomenal, especially with the Grand High Witch, which you saw there very briefly. It's very well made, it's very well paced, it's very funny, it's a good story, and I really do recommend it. Like I said, many of the witches in the meeting in one of the scenes are played by men in drag, believe it or not, and one of them is actually Michael Palin, which I didn't know. It also was originally the role of the Grand High Witch was going to go to Cher, but it was given to Angelica Houston. Anyway then, on to film number 6, which is Tremors. A classic in my opinion. and it's directed by Ron Underwood and written by Ron Underwood as well. Stars Kevin Bacon, Fred Ward, Michael Gross, Victor Wong from Big Trouble in Little China fame. And it was a flop at the cinema, believe it or not, and it was a smash hit on VHS. It tripled the box office take-ins on video. It's going well, isn't it? And it's basically the story about these two guys. They find out that there's these giant worm slug things called graboids underneath the ground that are basically eating people, and they can track them by movement, sound, movement, etc. And it's just a very fast-paced horror movie with lots of comedy, great acting, good scripting, good special effects, and just it spawned a whole franchise. They've done about 4 or 5 sequels, and a TV series was planned with Kevin Bacon in, which they made a trailer for, and it looked fantastic, but they never got round to it in the end, which is a real shame. The idea is great, it's a good story, it goes at a good pace, there's plenty of action, plenty of gore, and I really do enjoy this movie, and I would highly recommend you check it out. Tremors from 1990, give it a go.
Or suckoids. Now this valley is just one long smorgasbord.
Now, it's up to Val and Earl to save the world.
That's one big mother.
Who died and made you Einstein?
And they know just what to do. Flip for it.
Damn.
Kevin Bacon, Fred Ward, Tremors.
So then, not Channel 5, but number 5 on my list is the 1919, obviously, Nightbreed, directed and written by Clive Barker, known for his, not Halloween, for his Hellraiser series. And it stars Craig Sheffer, David Cronenberg, yes, him, Anne Bobby, Doug Bradley, yes, him, and Nicholas Vince, who I met recently, who was a very nice chap indeed. And there are so many cuts to this movie, it's unbelievable. The theatrical cut was 1 hour and 42 minutes. The director's cut was 2 hours long. And the cable cut, which I am lucky to own, which is very rare, is 2 hours and 25 minutes. There was promised an extended cable cut, the ultimate cut as such, which was pushing 4 hours. But sadly, it never came to be. I think this is a fantastic horror movie, and it's one of my all-time favourite movies. Check it out, Nightbreed by Clive Barker. Then on to number 4, which was one of the first films I saw at the cinema, Back to the Future Part 3. And it is an absolute bloody classic in my opinion. I absolutely love this movie. Obviously the third film in the trilogy. It was directed by Robert Zemeckis, and it stars the classic actors Michael J. Fox, Christopher Lloyd, Mary Steenburgen, Thomas F. Wilson, Leah Thompson, Elizabeth Shue, and James Tolkien, the bold guy. Slacker. Originally in the movie, there's a scene where Marty McFly calls himself Clint Eastwood. And before they made the movie, they asked Clint Eastwood personally if they could use his name for part of the scripting. And he agreed. And then later, upon seeing the film, Clint Eastwood found it hilarious that they quoted him this way and found it quite a good chuckle and in good taste. It is a fantastic end to the trilogy, and I highly recommend it. Great Scott. Anyway then, on to number 3. Now number 3 is without doubt one of my all-time favourite horror movies, if not the favourite horror movie. It, by Stephen King. And I did do a documentary about this, but we won't mention it. It's directed by Tommy Lee Wallace and written by Tommy Lee Wallace also. It stars the legendary Tim Curry, who is the ultimate Pennywise, the best Pennywise, even though Bill Skarsgård did do a good job for the remake. Also stars Richard Thomas, Annette O'Toole, John Ritter, Jonathan Brandis, Brandon Crane, Jared Blanchard, Seth Green, Emily Perkins, and Marlon Taylor, just to name a few. It's funny that Alice Cooper was originally considered to play Pennywise the Clown. Also was Roddy McDowall, Malcolm McDowell. It's quite unusual to think of that now, but at the time it was considered those were the actors to play him. But Tim Curry took over and he stole the film by far. Also out of curiosity, do you know that Jim Kay was considered for the role of the adult Eddie, which I didn't know until later on. It is a very funny, well-paced, you see this coming down quite a lot, don't you, me repeating myself, but it's such a good story, so well made, and it's just something which takes me back to my childhood. I remember I slipped downstairs crept downstairs, I should have said. I didn't fall. And I came downstairs to watch this in the middle of the night when it was first shown on television. And it was the opening scene, and I shit myself. It was so scary, and well, to me it was. The image of the clown in between the bed sheets, that sounded better in my head. But you know what I mean if you've seen the film. Was terrifying, and I absolutely loved it, but I didn't see the whole of it. I didn't see the whole of it until many years later, where me and my friends Glenn and Sean rented it from the video shop, and we watched the whole thing, and it was fantastic, and I highly recommend it. It's one of my all-time favourite movies. Stephen King's it, and make sure you check it out. Right then, on to number 2, the penultimate favourite movie, and by the music you can tell it's a Christmas film. That's right, Home Alone. I remember seeing this at the cinema with my mum and dad and my brother on opening weekend and absolutely loving it. I thought it was such a classic before I even finished watching the film. Ironically though, my dad and my mum thought the first 10 minutes was a bit iffy, but it soon got going as soon as they all buggered off and he was left alone. So yeah, it's a very good film. I really do love this movie. It's the film I watch every year without doubt at Christmas time. That and The Muppets Christmas Carol, which is still my favourite Christmas movie of all time. So, Home Alone then. Directed by Chris Columbus of Harry Potter fame. Written by John Hughes of Uncle Buck and Planes, Trains and Automobiles fame. It stars the usual Macaulay Culkin and Bruce... I forget his name, Bruce Stern, I think it is. Joe Pesci, John Hurd, Catherine O'Hara, and the late, great John Candy from Uncle Buck fame. He was sensational, and all his lines in the movie were ad-libbed or improvised. Can you believe that? I certainly can't, but he had some cracking lines in this movie. In one of the scenes, Kevin finds his brother's photo of his girlfriend and says woof. Didn't know that actually, if you look closely, that's actually a boy in drag, which I didn't know until recently. And I think it's quite funny. I think the director thought it was a bit cruel to find a picture of a girl who considered to be ugly, so they put a boy in drag just so it didn't feel too bad making it. Anyway, another thing which you probably didn't know, or if you did then well done you, is the line "you guys give up or you're thirsty for more" was ad-libbed as well. So there we go. Home Alone, my ultimate favourite Christmas movie, bar Muppets Christmas Carol. Fantastic. Check it out this Christmas. And here we are then, number 1, my favourite movie of 1990. Yeah, you guessed it. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Like you didn't know. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles is my all-time favourite film, so therefore it's guaranteed to be on this list, at number 1 especially. Now, what could I say about this movie which I've not said before? Oh God, I tell you, watching this the other day, which I did watch recently for my birthday, it just brought back so many memories. That's a deleted scene right there, by the way. And it's just something about it, the story, the characters, it's got heart, it's well paced, it's beautifully directed and written, and it has characters that you root for and care for. It's such a movie to me that I just can't put words to it. It was directed by Steve Barron, written by Bobby Herbeck, and it stars Judith Hoag, my favourite April O'Neil, Elia Cotes, who is fantastic as Katie Jones, Corey Feldman, who does the voice for Donatello, and a very early young Sam Rockwell. That's right, he's in this as well. It cost just under $50 million to make. It was a very low budget movie for its time, and it made over $200 million worldwide, and it's the highest grossing independent film of its time. In fact, Judith Hoag, who plays April O'Neil, was actually convinced by Robin Williams to take the part. So you got Robin Williams to thank for her participation in this film. And there we go. That's my top 10 favourite movies of the year 1990. I'm sure you're not surprised at what number 1 was. I certainly wasn't. And, you know, it's just amazing to think 30 years ago all these films were coming out. What a year it was for me. Now, I know what you're thinking. Stephen King's It isn't really a movie. It's a mini-series. Well, today it's considered a movie. It's my show. I don't give a shit. So I consider it to be a film because it is shot on film. So therefore, to me, it's a 2-part movie. So, hope you don't mind. Obviously, there are lots and lots of movies that I didn't get into the top 10. So I'm going to now leave you with highlights with some of the posters for those movies that I absolutely love from that year. I hope you've enjoyed this video, and tell me down in the comments what is your favourite film from the year 1990, and tell me what is your favourite year of film. Is there a certain year where all your favourite films came out by chance? I don't know. Let me know down in the comments down below, and I look forward to reading those. I hope you enjoyed this video. It's a bit of a random one, and I worked really hard on it. I hope you liked it. So there we go. Thanks again for watching this video, and I'm now going to leave you some highlights of some of the great films which didn't make the top 10, but they are all great, and I really highly recommend you check them out. See you again soon, everybody. Please like, share and subscribe, and stay safe.